It seems that the situation with Diablo 4 is changing rapidly. And what I mean by changing rapidly, well, if you look at this article, it says that Blizzard heard your feedback on Diablo 4 Mythics and is completely changing how they work again. And by the way, this is just one of many articles that were discussing what's going on with the Season 15, or rather what kind of changes are we going to see or we are expecting, whatever. And right from the start, my first reaction is that Blizzard didn't learn the right lessons from Season 14. But also, they are doubling down on an identity that's becoming increasingly obvious. Diablo 4 is slowly evolving into Diablo 3.5 rather than carving out its own long-term identity. For starters, there is absolutely nothing about war plans being account-wide. That alone tells me that they haven't learned any lessons whatsoever. And pretty much until we get this particular change, I will be hammering this topic non-stop. Not because I'm bored to death, but because making war plans account-wide is the only right and reasonable thing to do. I mean, it is that freaking obvious. We want more alts, we want all the unlocks that we have achieved with our main character. You know, the things that you want to do in a freaking ARPG. Have several characters, gear them up, and just have fun. But apparently having fun in Diablo 4, that is a big no-no for Blizzard. Anyway, I already said what I wanted to say about this topic, so let's see what else is going to be changed in the next season. The first thing that I saw is all about Rebirth. Now you can take your Eternal character into a new season while resetting it to level 1. Honestly, I couldn't give two shits about my Eternal characters. Frankly, I don't even have Eternal characters to begin with. I immediately delete that shit because nobody gives a fuck. Next, we have some Mythic changes. And to be honest, this isn't what's necessary for this game. This is a wrong thing to change. Just because you cannot achieve full Mythic gear set in like a week or so of playing the game doesn't mean the game is bad. What you need to do is very fucking simple. Leave two attributes as static, which means you will always get these two stats no matter what, and for the remaining two stats, let me farm that shit. Also, if I want to reroll one of them, I can do that. But remove all them bullshit currencies. Use the uniques themselves as currencies when I'm rerolling stuff in the queue. Next, leave greater affixes alone. If I'm going to put a certain unique with greater affixes into the cube and make it a mythic, it definitely has to have those greater affixes after the conversion. Why is this so hard to understand? It is so fucking simple, even a child can understand this. Oh, Jesus Christ. Why complicate things, Blizzard? Why? Do you need some kind of a, I don't know, PowerPoint presentation in order to see why these things shouldn't be handled the way that I explained already? And then they are thinking, why people aren't playing our game more than 7 to 10 days? Well, because we don't care, because you do stupid shit. It's as simple as that. But anyway, they said that they were experimenting and it didn't work. I could have told you that immediately as soon as I read the patch notes. What planet do you guys live in? Like, what the hell is even happening with this we experimented kind of attitude? It's so fucking dumb, man. Now, honestly, I can kinda respect that they didn't stubbornly defend a bad system, but still, you should have recognized it's a bad system to begin with. Okay, moving on. I don't really want to talk about this anymore. Next thing that's happening in Season 15 is legacy items, which means stuff like Stone of Jordan, Ring of Royal Grandeur, and stuff like that. They are basically putting stuff from Diablo 3 into Diablo 4. And that brings me to my next point. You see, Diablo 4 is becoming more Diablo 3 every season. And it's so freaking ironic because I remember there was this article about how they were developing Diablo 4, but there was this sort of a directive that they cannot look at Diablo 3 systems when they're making Diablo 4 because Diablo 3 bad, or I don't know, whatever the fuck they had in their heads at the time. However, since launch, we've gotten greater Rift style progression, pets, armory, now Rebirth, legacy item, all that kind of shit, which to be honest, if you're going to make Diablo 4, It is so natural to take stuff that worked in Diablo 3, implement it in the next game, which is Diablo 4, and then build upon that. But no, we're gonna be smartasses, we're gonna ignore Diablo 3 like it doesn't exist whatsoever. I swear to God, I would like to see inside of a head of the person who made this particular comment just to see how they fucking think, because what I am seeing, or rather what I was reading back in the day, it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, my man? Why would you say these things? It makes absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. So yeah, collectively Diablo 4 is moving closer and closer to Diablo 3's philosophy. And you can even see that sentiment popping up in the community discussion. Because why wouldn't you see this? You always take what works, translate that shit into the next game, and you win. Which brings me to my next conclusion, and that is that I think Blizzard still hasn't answered one fundamental question, and that's basically, what is Diablo 4 supposed to be? Because at launch, it wanted to be darker, slower, more grounded, you could say closer to Diablo 2, and more open world-like. However, 3 years later, it's faster, more arcade-like, more seasonal, and it resembles Diablo 3's design philosophy based on the mechanics that have been introduced. Now, that isn't necessarily a bad direction, but the problem is that often it feels like reactive rather than planned. They are experimenting, which always ends up in disaster. People push back, Blizzard pivots, and the game inches towards whatever the community seems to enjoy most. And I would definitely say to this, it's because they don't play their game. Because if they were playing their game, and they would see it's not fun, we wouldn't have these issues to begin with. But as we all know, they are pushing these agendas, they want this engagement bullshit that the management is pushing on the dev team, and you get what you get. Anyway, I think Season 15 looks like shit, particularly again, because war plans aren't account bound. All these things that they're putting in Season 15, the Rebirth feature, the Mythic overhaul fix, the nostalgia bullshit, that's all for shit. It's very freaking obvious what you need to do, and you are still trying to do your own thing instead of doing what must be done. And if you continue on this particular path, Blizzard, it's not going to end up really good. But again, as we all know, they want us to pay for the next expansion, where they usually push these new quote-unquote changes, which are essentially things that should happen in the first place, regardless of whether or not we are having an expansion or not. So yeah, I don't really see Season 15 working really good, and even if they buff classes that are bad at the moment like Warlock and Paladin, it's still not going to change the fact that I'm just going to play one single character, finish seasonal journey, and be done with the game within 7 days. And that's just fucking sad, my man. And that's basically my take on this news. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And that's it from me, until the next one.